Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello!
And today we're talking about the first volume of Oshi no Ko. The story of this manga is by Aka Akasaka and the art is by Mengo Yokoyari. We are of course familiar with Aka Akasaka, seeing as we cover Kaguya-sama Love is War here on this podcast as well. Additionally, I've also read his previous work called Instant Bullet, which is also pretty good. But anyway, since I was a big fan of Akasaka, especially through the Kaguya-sama manga, I started reading the Oshi no Ko chapters online right when it started publishing in April of 2020. At that time, the physical releases of Kaguya-sama that I were reading were right in the middle of the Culture Festival arc, so it was a very exciting time to be an Akasaka fan. And when I started reading Oshi no Ko, I really recognized the illustration style, and I wondered why. And then I looked up and I found out that I had actually read another manga illustrated by Mengo Yokoyari before that, one called Kimi wa Midara na Boku no Jo, which is an ecchi manga that she drew. Somebody else wrote the story for it. So I thought that was kind of fun how I had unintentionally read something by her before Oshi no Ko came out. And it's also pretty funny that Mengo Yokoyari is actually mentioned in volume 18 of Kaguya-sama Love is War by one of the characters, since at that time Mengo Yokoyari and Aka Akasaka had started working on Oshi no Ko together, I believe. And she's mentioned as a mangaka in the Kaguya-sama world, kind of, which is pretty funny as well. And after I started reading Oshi no Ko, I wanted to check out some other stuff by Mengo Yokoyari, so I read a work by her called Scum's Wish, which is a relationship drama.
Oh, that was hers. Did she write it too?
She both wrote and illustrated it, so that one is entirely by her. So
wow.
I wanted to see something that was both written and illustrated by her, and that seemed to be the most well-received and well-known one.
I mean, even I've heard of it.
Okay, you've heard. Have you seen the anime or read it or anything? But you've heard of it.
No.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it's very good, actually. So
oh, really?
I do. Oh. I recommend it. It's a bit racy.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I followed along with the Oshi no Ko chapters, the new ones as they were coming out, until a couple months after we started the Umami Manga podcast. I thought it would make for good volume discussions eventually, so I stopped reading after I'd read chapter 40 in order to be as unspoiled as possible for whenever the English physical volumes would come around. And now it's been nearly 2 years since then, but it has been worth the wait. I am so excited to dig into this manga today. Now, I just need to say that even though I've read the first 40 chapters, which equates to the first 4 volumes, I will not spoil anything beyond the volume that we're discussing in any of the given episodes. So today, I'm not going to talk about anything beyond volume 1. You have my word. So, with all of that out of the way, James, you are going completely blind into this. What were your expectations of this manga before you went into it, and how is it living up to those expectations so far?
You know, I wasn't sure what to expect. Definitely some comedy, but I did not expect there to be, I guess, a murder mystery on our hands. To me, I felt like it would be more of a comedic, but also somewhat dramatic or tragic look into the life of an idol and almost kind of pick apart that industry. Those are somewhat of my expectations, knowing Akasaka and kind of his view on life at times. But I did not expect it. Well, I don't think I really expected it or understood that it was a reincarnation story either. A faux isekai, like they're not in a different world, but they get reincarnated into one, into the same one. But the biggest thing that surprised me was the murder mystery aspect of it.
Right.
So I'm very interested to see where the series goes from here, because the most impactful part of the story is technically gone now. And now it becomes revenge.
We are supposedly still staying in the entertainment industry, though. So I imagine there's still going to be a lot of kind of critique against that in other ways.
Right. No, and not saying that that would go away. I'm just saying that the most interesting being like that character. She's gone. She was basically the hook.
Absolutely.
The story, I felt, and now she's gone. So it's like, I don't doubt that they'll still be able to captivate me, but it is interesting to see where they will go from here.
Definitely, yeah. And yeah, this first volume is basically the prologue of the story. So, yeah, it can go in a lot of different directions from here, yeah. And about the title of this manga, for the longest time, I was never quite sure of what it meant exactly. I saw a bunch of different, or yeah, I was seeing a bunch of different kind of fan translations online and stuff, and the manga itself never ended up getting an official English translation. Well, the title of it. Luckily for me, the translation notes at the end of the volume gave me a good explanation to this finally. But James, since you actually know Japanese, would you like to talk a little bit about that for the listeners?
Well, Oshi is not really a typical word. It's a nerdy word.
Mhm.
It's very much in the otaku vernacular. For example, if you have a favorite video game character, that's your Oshi.
Ah.
And actually, you'll see online they'll use the kanji for this. And for a while, I had no idea what it was. Like, what are these people talking about? Because when I was living in Japan, I didn't really talk to too many otaku, and they definitely weren't talking about their Oshi. But yeah, so basically Oshi is the character you stand for, whether it be an idol or a video game character, a pop artist, voice actress, actor, etc., etc.
Mm.
And in this case, Oshi is I Hoshino, like that is I think the twins Oshi.
Yeah, for sure.
Now Oshino Ko is interesting because it can be translated into several ways, being like the girl that I Oshi, the girl that I stan, or the kids of the girl I stan,
Yeah.
or I am the kid of the girl I stan. It could be taken various ways. One of the way that I took it that the book doesn't mention, and this is a James interpretation, so take it however how you will.
Hmm.
Hoshino is I's last name, and
Oh.
Oshi no Ko is in there. Now, Ho and O are different characters entirely, but
Mm, mm.
Oshi no, that sounds similar to Hoshino,
Yeah, dude, that's really funny. I never thought about that.
So it could be Hoshino Ko. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of pun in there
For
in some
sure.
way, and that's why they chose Hoshino. Beside it being star, if the correct kanji should be like star field or something like that. That should be your last name. Anyway,
Mm.
besides the point. Yeah, so that's it on Oshi, and I don't blame them for not wanting to translate it because, to be fair, I think the children of the woman I stan, or my stan's kid, like I don't know, doesn't
Yeah.
quite hit right.
Yeah, and it is fun how like they kind of respected the wordplay by just leaving it as it is, but adding this explanation in the translation notes at the end of the volume. I kind of respect that. One translation I've seen, which seems to be rather popular online, is "My Star," which I guess works, but it's not at all as witty, I guess, as the original
Yeah,
title.
not really as witty. You're right, but I mean, she does have Hoshi is star, so I guess like that being part of her last name, I
Right.
guess maybe,
Yeah, with the star eyes.
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Very well. So next up, let me read you the first panel of the manga. Have you ever thought, what if I were a celebrity's kid? Have you ever thought that?
I don't think I have.
I don't think I have either, but it made me think. Well, it didn't actually make me think about it myself, but it made me think how common is that really for people to think? At least this volume seemed to imply that several people had been having those types of thoughts. I don't know if it's more common in Japan to have those thoughts or if it's not really, especially common anywhere, but Akasaka just wanted to make that kind of into a point in the story. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting thing to ponder.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a kind of thought provoking, and well, really just the theme of the first volume. Really, like, what if I was if I was born to someone to a celebrity?
Uh-huh. But yes, I believe next we will go through each of the characters one by one, starting with Ai Hoshino. She grew up with a single parent who apparently abused her physically, but she was pretty quickly abandoned by that one parent and grew up at a children's home
Mm.
after that. And she never really had love in her life, and but she was desperate. She was desperate to have love in her life, and something I thought was kind of jarring. Well, obviously that the whole thing I just mentioned is all very tragic of a backstory, but the fact that she was scouted to become this center of the idol group Bikomachi when she was only 12 years old. That's just kind of
That's insane to
that
me.
is, yeah, that is insane, right? Or like is that actually a common occurrence
I,
IRL?
I, I don't
I
know.
don't
Like,
know. I'm not very invested in this kind of thing, but
true.
12, that's yeah, that seems it crazy.
That's especially for her. I don't know, for the way she looks. Like, I mean, manga is manga, so like they'll make 16-year-olds look like they're 25-year-olds. But
Yeah.
regardless, I I thought she looked so much older that the age 16 thing must have been a lie. Is what I thought. And
Oh.
considering this character was all about lies, I thought, oh yeah, that that must be true. But
Ah.
no, like she was scouted at 12, and 4 years later, that's what I
Mhm.
I don't know. Like it's almost sad in a way. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
glad that she was able to find something that she could, you know, put her heart to and eventually find love through. But I don't know, like taking away someone's childhood like that. But then again, she wasn't in a great position to begin with. So
precisely. But yeah, as you I guess we're kind of alluding to, yeah, she was able to find kind of a good, well, a lifestyle that she at least seemed to, well, it seemed to work for her at least. And especially once she had the twins, that was something that obviously she had never had before. She'd never had a family before. So having twins, it's not just a kid. She had two kids. She finally had a family, which I think was absolutely lovely for her, especially since she was actually able to do, well, to keep doing her idol work while having the kids in secret.
hmm
But she did get in touch with her ex, which
never do.
yeah, that's true. Never do. That's usually a
Don't do
mistake.
that.
Pretty much always a mistake. But yeah, he seems to. Well, yeah, it's heavily implied that he's the father of the twins and a bastard. Whoever he is, he's not a good guy. It seems like. I mean, sure,
Yeah.
I'll stay positive to, or I wouldn't say no to a plot twist, I guess, but it really seems like he is actually the villain here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the true mystery is who is the father.
Hmm.
And I think up to this point, there's really no real candidate as to who that could be. Going into the next volumes, we're just kind of we'll be in the dark, really. Like
Yeah,
who could it be? Like there's there's nobody I'm like, aha, you're suspect number one at this point. So
for sure. Ice way of looking at love, I think, was tragic, but also somewhat beautiful in its own way, kind of. She even said she wanted to love that guy who stabbed her. She couldn't. I mean, she didn't love him, but the way she kind of said that she wanted to love even him, I think just kind of spoke to just how desperately she just wanted to love people, even though she couldn't. Although, I mean, well, it was obviously revealed at the very end there in her dying moment that she did love her kids. She was able to say "I love you" to them while truly meaning it, which
right,
was also just awfully bittersweet, incredibly sad. Like
yeah,
I was crying my eyes out during that scene. But yeah, it's such good writing, and yeah, a tragic but yeah, just very well written end for this character here.
for sure. I just want to also touch on her, I guess, thoughts on love.
Hmm.
Lies are an outstanding kind of love.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it. I don't think that fits for every situation. For example, she says to me, lies are love. But if someone is deceiving you, like cheating on you and lying, lying on that, like that's not love.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously, it depends on the situation. But I think there's some truth in that. where parents will tell a little white lie, or maybe that they hide the truth so they don't hurt the person.
Mm,
Um, I think there's some truth to be gleaned from there.
definitely, and especially from kind of how we see I use it and kind of her whole thought process around it. It
Yeah,
absolutely makes sense, I think.
I agree. I also respect her wanting happiness as a mother and an idol.
Definitely. Mm,
I respect people who want to have that parent side of things, but also have a career. Like I really respect that, especially a tough career like being an idol. Like that's got to be
mm,
rough.
definitely, for sure. And it was very rough for her. And it was kind of sad to see how it affected her, how she put up this front, not only on stage, but really off stage too, a lot of the time. I think the only time when she was truly herself, or like when she could truly relax, was when she was with her kids.
Mm, that's a fair point. Yeah, but that final "love you" while sad was also kind of satisfying. You
It
know,
was, yeah. Mm,
it was nice to her to be able to finally say that and mean it. You know, she finally understood what love was.
yeah. Was that all on Ai Hoshino?
Yeah.
All right, then let's move on next to Aquamarine Hoshino. And well, we're probably gonna call him Aqua. It seems like that becomes his, well, the name that he's called most of the time. And yeah, Aquamarine is just way too long anyway.
Right. It really is.
I felt sorry for him to get that name.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, he is a super fan of Ai Hoshino and also her son. And in his previous life, he was a doctor called Goro. So, about his character, I think he is a pretty emotional guy, but he does usually a pretty good job at hiding his emotions from other people. Is something that I got from this volume at least. Like, for example, early on when he first met Ai, he was freaking out, like inside, and he had to go to a different room to kind of freak out by himself. But in front of Ai and the manager or the president, he was acting completely cool, and I don't think I suspected that he knew her at all until obviously later when yeah, when it was revealed to her that he knew her. So like I think in that sense he's good at covering up his emotions. I guess the one time or the one exception at least in this book when he didn't was when he and Ruby did the coordinated glow stick dance at the concert. I guess they just couldn't help themselves. It was both of their first time seeing I perform live, so I guess I can understand that. But I think besides that situation, I think he did a pretty good job at like yeah just hiding his emotions. Even though I believe he is emotional, he just yeah he knows usually how to hide them pretty well.
Yeah. Unlike his twin sister.
Yeah.
I do think it's an interesting approach to reincarnation. You have a moment where he actually meets the person he's going to be born to
Mhm.
and then and then dies. So I don't really recall many stories like that. Maybe they are out there, but it's not one I'm familiar with. So I think it's fairly unique in that sense. One thing about his former body is that during the book, it says that they still didn't find it.
Yeah.
Um, I I wonder if that's gonna be a plot point in the future at all.
Yeah, I hope
I don't know
so.
why, but it just seemed kind of another mysterious thing to not even touch on, or to touch on and then just not really go back to it.
Mhm.
I guess you could argue that the crazy fan buried his body somewhere or hid it, um,
Mhm.
and that's that. But I don't know. There could also be other reasons, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe the father has something to do with it. I mean, he has something to do with this, or at least he supposedly gave the guy who killed him the information about being there or about going there because I was giving birth there.
Hmm.
Whether or not he has something to do with the location of the body, I guess we don't know for sure, but maybe.
It would be nuts if like the Doctor Goro didn't actually die. You
Oh,
know,
that would be
wouldn't
nuts.
that be crazy?
That
So
would.
like his consciousness splits somehow. Like I mean, he's still the same person, but he also reincarnates as her child. I don't know why or how that would work, but
Huh.
that would explain why they haven't found the body is because he's not dead. Although I don't. Did it say that the Goro was missing at all? I don't recall if that article or if he had found an article like that.
Yeah, I can't recall exactly how it was worded either.
Anyway, that's just random speculation.
On about the thing that it's an interesting type of reincarnation, as you mentioned, how he met
Uh-huh.
the he met his mother before before she became his mother. Um, he also met his twin sister before she
Oh, good point.
became his twin sister. So I feel like Goro is kind of the common factor kind of between like looking at these three. He was the one to actually meet both of the other family members in his previous life. And I wonder is there significance to that, or is there significance to the fact that both Goro and Sarina were super fans of Ai Hoshino? I I don't know. It's a big mystery.
Yeah, honestly, I'm so used to reincarnation stories never really explaining why they reincarnate. And
Yeah.
if they do, it's just like some god is like, I just did it for the lulz. Ha ha ha. You know, it's never really anything deep. So I almost feel like that won't be the or that will be the case here as well. Not a goddess, but just it happened. Don't think about it. Like
Yeah.
I I feel like that may be the case, but who knows? Maybe there'll be more.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there may not be any significance or explanation required. Like maybe because I kind of feel like maybe it's not the point of the story to explain
Right.
how the reincarnation functions.
I feel the same way. There are shows that while there's some sort of weird shenanigans going on, that doesn't need to be explained. That's not the point of the
Yeah.
story. Some people
Mm,
I can't get over that, but I think at times it's not important to worry over it.
for sure. But yes, Aqua is brought into the acting industry only because he speaks like an adult, or at least that's how it starts. It seems that, or it appears that he has some other good traits like people skills that
Mm.
the director appreciated about him, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But he ends up using this acting career as a means for revenge in order to
Mm.
find and kill his father.
Dun dun dun.
So yeah, so it's a pretty high stakes right now, kind of it seems like, and how that kind of seemed to that is really his main driving force right now because before he got that goal, he kind of didn't care whether he lived or died or anything. But now, but then he came to the conclusion that yeah, his father is most likely responsible for both my previous life's death as well as I's death. So if I can't find him if I can't find him in this life, it will be a lot harder because obviously with this life he has DNA that can connect him with his father. Plus the whole entertainment industry clue, I think, was also useful there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think he seems to have gone quite cold, at least in that interview that we saw with him.
Right.
Like that one page interview, he was claiming that he won't love anyone, and just in general, his demeanor seemed very cold and distant, kind of. To be fair, that was something he said in an interview, so maybe he wasn't totally truthful
Mm-hmm.
entirely in it. So I guess it should be taken with a grain of salt. But I do still think that there is some genuine darkness within him.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think that's entirely like I don't know. I don't think he's entirely gone, cold or dark. He there is some thing like there are some other things in there as well that are good, but there's a lot of that bad stuff.
Yeah. I think anytime you make your goal in life revenge and murder at that,
Mhm.
I think you're gonna have a bit of darkness in you and have a cold outlook on the world. And I really do think how fans treated Ai's death and, well, the cause of her death has soured his outlook on the world in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where his character goes from here as well. Obviously, he is now kind of the focal point of the story. I'm sure Ruby will be an important aspect as well, but it's really his revenge story. So I'm curious, how far will he fall in order to get that revenge, or will there be any
Hmm.
sort of fallout? I'm not sure, but that's kind of the feeling I get. I'm sure he'll be successful. Don't get me wrong, but
You think he will succeed in killing his father?
that I don't know. Uh, he may have a redemption moment type of situation, but I mean, like, successful in acting and being popular. I mean, he's
Ah,
getting interviewed for Pete's sake.
right,
But
right.
that actually leads to what I was going to say is that the next book sees them starting, I assume, high school, right?
Yeah, it seems that way.
So we're not in the present day yet. Is that correct to assume? Because these interviews
Hmm.
are further into the future, right? Or am I wrong?
I I also think so. Although I guess it's possible also that the interviews are in at slightly different times,
Mm.
like in relation to each other,
Oh,
potentially.
okay.
Though I mean I don't know for sure. Um, that said, though, yeah, I don't think the story is quite up to either of the times when the either of the interviews take place.
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
don't think.
Okay.
We're probably getting there though, because at least if you look at, for example, Kana in her interview, she looks about the same as she does on the final page. She looks to be at the same age ish
True.
there, but yeah, I don't think we're quite up to the when the interviews take place yet.
I mean, they're interviewing them and they're calling her a genius, and you know, obviously, Aqua has made a name for himself. I don't know so much about Ruby. I mean, she seems to be an idol, but like how much is that different from her high school life or not? Like, I don't know. But anyway, uh, I like this format of having these interviews at the beginning of the chapter, uh,
Yeah.
from the present day, and then we're kind of getting the story told to us from that point of view. So yeah, I like that. I kind of hope it keeps up even after Ai's death, but it may not. It would be kind of hard to have a new interview every chapter.
That's true. Yeah, and honestly, I can't remember right now if it does keep up or not. So that's also something I'm looking forward to see in the next volume.
Hmm.
But is that all on Aquamarine?
Yes.
All right, then let us move on to his sister Ruby Hoshino, another super fan of Ai Hoshino, and well, yeah, her daughter. And in her previous life, she was Sarina, a girl who tragically died young due to a brain tumor. She was the one who made Goro into a fan of Ai.
How dare she? No, I'm just kidding. You poisoned him. No, I'm not. I'm joking.
Oh, she's such a sweet girl.
Yeah.
But we learned from the interview with Ruby that she has been doing idol jobs and that she will even get an acting job to some extent. It seems like. So yeah, she seems to be very much in the entertainment industry. I guess we don't know the extent exactly, but she at least she seems to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we also learned that she has a natural talent for acting. And Aqua also made a remark saying that she had very good instincts for dancing as well. So I think yeah, there's a lot of potential in her.
Speaking of that dancing, I really liked that
Mhm.
chapter of her discovering that she can dance and learning how to dance.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so sad to see her as Sarina just wanting to do a little dance, wanting to be like I, but physically unable to. It's just heartbreaking. And then
Right.
to have that, I guess, emotional realization that she can dance is Yeah, it's magical. I really liked it.
It is. Yeah, I honestly, I gotta say that chapter 7, which was that chapter, I gotta say it was is my favorite chapter of this book,
It is very good.
and I agree completely with everything you said there. It's just beautiful moments. I mean, sad looking back at what was, but just incredible and amazing when you look at what's happening now.
Hmm.
Very touching.
Out of all the people to reincarnate, she really deserved a second chance. I,
Oh yes.
I mean, I think a lot of kids who have medical issues deserve a second chance at life.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm glad that she's able to get that.
For sure.
And yeah, excited to see the next big idol. It'll be interesting to see what she takes from her mom's career. And I guess this is something a little bit on Aqua as well. I wonder if he's gonna, if it ever like happens, if he's gonna struggle with opening up to people, or especially like a girlfriend or something like that, because he understands that fans are can be crazy. But then I think with Ruby's case, she might actually fall in love because she's so much like her mother in that aspect. I don't know. I could see them kind of taking different approaches to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they are. I believe they are very different people in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is really. I think it's especially beautiful to see. Well, yeah, for Sarina to be reborn this way, because kind of along the lines that you were saying before, when she was still Sarina, well, she knew. She basically knew that she didn't have a future. She had kind of given up on everything like that, because not only could she not do the things that she wanted to, like physically, but I believe she had also kind of understood that, yeah, I'm not going to live very long because of my illness. So she never even thought about her future. But now she can, and it's just the most heartwarming thing, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I agree.
Anyway, next up, let's talk about Kana Arima. She used to be considered a genius child actor because she could cry in 10 seconds. but but in that interview that we got when she was older, she denies that she is a genius actress. And I think stuff like that is probably kind of common among child actors, like when if they are really big at a young age, and then I think a lot of the time kind of turn out to be kind of average when they grow older. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily the case with Kana, but I think that, well, her situation kind of reminded me of that. Well, yeah, of that phenomenon, I guess you could say.
I think what it remind me of is just, well, really just someone who's looks back at their younger self and cringes. Yeah, it's like, oh no, please,
Oh, okay, interesting.
that's not the case. And someone who has humbled herself, in a way.
Mm,
Uh, and maybe that is because, or I'm pretty certain it is because of Aqua. And it seems like they'll run into each other fairly often.
precisely.
At least I think that's what the last page indicates.
Definitely, yeah. It
Um,
seems like she's. Well, yeah, exactly. It seems like it's indicating that she's starting the same school as them, perhaps.
mhm.
Um, as well as in her interview, she mentioned like Akun, which I believe is Aqua-kun, just kind of under her breath. So it seems like they are in touch,
Mhm.
even now when they're teenagers.
Yeah, I wonder what their relationship is at that point. Why would she be worried about him being mad?
Why indeed? I'm not sure really where her perfectionist side comes from. At least the one that we definitely see from her as when she's a kid, and we to be fair, we don't see much of her as an adult either. But as a kid, at the very least, she definitely seems to be very much of a perfectionist, and it seems like it's a lot of pressure that she's really putting onto herself. But yeah, I guess I'm just interested in seeing to what extent that's still there. Obviously, the interview, as you were speculating, it seems like she may have been kind of humbled. Maybe that humbling of herself has taken away some of that pressure and that perfectionist side to some extent potentially. But yeah, it really remains to be seen. I'm very excited to see more of her.
Yes, I agree. Like I mean, I don't really care for spoiled brats, but the fact that we got a look into her life as more of a humble person makes me excited to see what's going on from there.
Yes, yes.
By the way, I had this thought, but I forgot to write it down. Um, why she says Akun's gonna be mad, and you can confirm yes or no either way. But at least in this instance, she's upset because she says even geniuses could go down if they get shanked. That's literally what happened to his mother. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can see her being like, yeah, take that off. That was poor taste.
Right.
Especially in an interview that seems to be centered on
Yeah, exactly. That's got to be why she's kind of backing down from that statement.
Right. Now, why she calls him Akun is a whole other debate that we can have, but
Oh,
that's besides the point.
I didn't even know there was a debate to be had there.
Well,
uh,
you're not gonna call someone Akun unless you're close to them.
you
I
mean
mean,
that way?
not
Gotcha. Okay,
yeah.
that's fair.
Not necessarily like lovers, but
Mm,
you're gonna be at least close friends
mm.
if you're saying that. I think.
That's fair. Yeah, and I mean we don't know how much they've kept in touch, kind of since they recorded that film together.
Uh-huh.
But at the very least, they've known each other since they were like 2 or 3 years old.
Right.
But yeah.
I'm guessing that they really haven't talked to each other much since then. Well, since that point and up until high school, and then they'll have a reunion there. Maybe.
Maybe.
But I don't know. I haven't read the next volume.
So. Last thing on Kana that I'll say, or I'll ask you rather.
Are we talking longer about Kana than any other character? Is that
well, on Ruby at least, or more than Ruby at least, I believe.
more than Ruby? You're
but
right.
Either way, last thing I'll say or ask: does it surprise you that Kana Arima is my favorite character in this story?
I mean, I'm not gonna say surprised, but I didn't automatically think, oh, she would be your favorite. So yeah, I guess there is a bit of surprise because we don't have much to go off of.
It's true. I will say though that, or at least I'm trying to be unbiased here. I really think that even with only this first volume, that she is my favorite. Just because I really enjoyed her character here.
Mm-hmm.
But also, brief spoiler, I suppose, up to as far as I did read, she does remain my favorite character in this manga.
I mean, I'll admit, I was really intrigued with her and excited to see what they would do with her character, especially when the ending of her chapter is like they will meet again or whatever they say. Many years later, this encounter would turn out to be an important one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Obviously, that's gonna get you going. Ooh, okay.
Right. Yes. So yeah, very excited for volume 2.
Cool.
Very well. Then next up, let's talk about Ichigo Saito, the president of Ai's idol agency Ichigo Production, which at least Aqua also signs up with as a kid.
It is interesting to see that in an interview, Ichigo seems like he's not doing it anymore. I don't know. He seems kind of lost.
Yeah.
Or, like a deadbeat. So it says he's an ex-manager as well. So I don't know. Like, is he doing that stuff anymore?
That's a good question. Yeah. It's a little bit unclear whether Ichigo Production was shut down completely or if someone else took over as the president.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like it's got to be one of those things. Either way, he definitely seems to be very affected by Ai's death.
For sure. I mean, he was kind of a father figure to her when she had none in her life. Granted, I don't recommend having your boss as a father figure. There's
Yeah.
maybe not always a healthy relationship, but you know, I guess he was there for her when she had nowhere to go when she got a big belly. So,
Right. That's true. Although he was also kind of protecting his
of
investments
course,
and stuff like that.
he had no choice.
Like, I don't know. I'm a little bit torn on this guy. I don't want to call him a bad person, exactly. But
No,
like he does care very much about the money that he makes through his work, and
yeah,
he I did think he was kind of manipulative when he scouted I for his agency
yeah.
as well. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Again, though, I don't want to say he's a bad guy, but
It's a scummy job.
that's true. I guess the profession itself just kind of calls for that.
At least the way it's portrayed. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I guess the other thing is that his wife, forcing her to babysit Ai's kids. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll talk about her in a sec, but
Hmm.
that's not a cool thing to do.
No. No.
But I really don't have a whole lot on him other than I'm just
No.
curious to see what happens to him after all this goes down. I don't know. Maybe he's out of the story. Who
Maybe, I
knows?
don't know. Well, then let's talk about his wife next, Miyako Saito. Although I don't know if there's much love between the two.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like she was in it so that she could divorce him and find someone else.
Yes, definitely seemed that way. uh,
uh, yeah. But she grew on me for sure.
yeah.
I think she's definitely the most loyal person that the twins have at this point,
Mm,
and basically offers to be their new mother.
precisely.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was a touching moment after Ai's funeral.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, and like she understood that even though she thinks of them as her own children, she also understands that they may not think of her as their mom, and that's fine. And she respects that. She
Mm.
understands that. I think that's a very good thing. And really, she had been becoming a mother figure of sorts even before that, in a way.
Yeah,
Really, so it was only fitting.
it's a complete turnaround from what the relationship used to be. I mean, she almost tried to basically ruin their lives by
Yeah.
selling them out to a pop magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but after some divine intervention, she ended up changing her ways and working with them. Which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about these babies talking uh, in complete sentences like that. But you know, whatever. It's not. It doesn't happen for very long. This is just the prologue, so I'll let it.
Exactly.
I'll let it slide.
Yeah, I remember feeling very similarly when I read this the first time, and I remember being very happy when the story reached, well, basically, yeah, where the end of this volume
Hmm.
is, where from that point on, we're kind of done with them being babies, and that's kind of a relief in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel that exactly. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But Miyako is really the only person besides the twins who knows that there's something supernatural going on with them.
Mm.
Obviously, she doesn't know exactly what's going on. In fact, she thinks it's something other than what it actually is. But still, she knows that there's something odd happening there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, or yeah, that definitely puts her in a unique situation.
Mm. But I guess in the present day, she's their manager currently. Is that right?
Right. It seemed that way. Yeah.
So basically, took over for her. I'm guessing former husband. I don't know if they're still together or not.
Yeah. Right. I have no clue. Maybe she did find that handsome actor to marry. Very well. Next up, let's talk about Taishi Gotanda, the film director who is very impressed with Aqua. Based on the interview that we see with him, he seems to be working on a movie that's like supposedly 15 years after Ai's death, a film dedicated to her called The 15-Year Lie.
Mm.
And it sounds like both Aqua and Ruby are starring in the film. At least, yeah, that's what I picked up from the interview. And I don't know. With that in mind, the thought occurred to me that what if Ruby, assuming it's like a biopic or something, what if Ruby plays her mother in the movie or something like that?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be pretty interesting.
I think what's so interesting about that interview to me is that it was based on a script that fell through 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought it back himself. So, how much time has passed? Like, when was this script written? Because to me that implies that 15 years ago the script was finalized, like it had been written, but the events had already happened. You know what I mean?
True.
And then they tried to do it, but got backlash and couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they waited 15 years. I don't know.
Right. I guess it's a bit.
Am
vague.
I interpreting this right?
I mean, I couldn't really say exactly. Maybe you are.
Right.
Regardless, yeah, it's something like that. I believe. Anyway, the script was probably written shortly after Ai's death, at some point, maybe within the first year of her death or something. So maybe this is 16 years after her death. I don't know. Regardless, it's somewhere around there, I believe.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong though.
I wonder, because you said it's a brilliant script writer. Obviously, you could take a guess and say, oh, maybe it's Aqua who put it, but he's never shown a script writing ability before.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I guess he says has polished it into a story. So perhaps the script was written by Aqua, but didn't go through, and then eventually got written by a brilliant screenwriter. Maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe something like that.
But anyway, that's besides the point. I like him because he's kind of quirky, funny.
Yeah.
And then he becomes a father figure in a way for Aqua.
Precisely.
And I hope he's still in the story going forward, and I like to see how he trained him up.
Definitely, yeah. I also really want to see that. Is there any other character you want to talk about?
You know what? I think we touched on everybody.
Sweet. Then let us get on with some predictions. What do you got?
So, I mentions her abusive mother, and a thought came to me, will the mom ever play a role in the story? The only reason I could see that happening is if the truth comes out that they are Ai's children. And if the mother realized that Ai was her daughter, then maybe she would somehow want to latch onto their fame, maybe exploit them in some aspect, get into their lives. Or maybe they go out, maybe it's not the dark side, maybe they go out and seek her out for whatever reason. It could be an interesting thing to somehow bring back her deadbeat bring her deadbeat mother into the story. But that was just a thought I had.
Right, yeah, I like it.
I think Ruby will perform in the Dome. I think she will follow in her mother's footsteps and do the show that her mother dreamed of, or well, more so Ichigo dreamed of. But I was meant to do.
Yes. Oh, that would be beautiful. I love that. I love that idea.
Yeah. I wonder if their scumbag dad had another kid with maybe his actual wife around the same time, and they end up going to school together. That could be interesting.
Oh, like a half sibling.
Like a half sibling, right? That could be an interesting twist, and could give reason for Aqua going to the school in the first place. I guess that's kind of like a Spy Family situation.
It really is. Yeah, like I'm not opposed to this idea. However, I don't know if it would take away from the whole kind of searching for the father within the entertainment industry specifically. Because if this would be the case, then he would find his father through other means, and which wouldn't be the entertainment industry, so that would kind of be neglected maybe. Though I don't know.
I mean, I see your point, but I guess I was still thinking about them using the entertainment industry because I feel like the school is going to be heavily influenced by that industry.
Mm-mm.
So for I was thinking like maybe that still would be implied, but I see your point, and for sure it has to be within that world. So that's fair.
Mm-mm.
I still think that going to school has to have some sort of benefit for him and his revenge. Maybe there is some sort of connection to the entertainment industry through that, and maybe the teachers have connection to that industry,
Right.
or not, or maybe I'm overthinking it, but I think there could be something there.
And yeah, and on all of this, like obviously this manga I think does a very good job at finding ways to criticize the entertainment industry in some ways that I think are thought provoking and probably worth mentioning to some extent at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
And something that got me thinking about that in relation to the whole mystery about who the father is. And maybe I'm reading way too much into this, but the thought occurred to me that their father might be a personification in a way of the bad sides of the entertainment industry.
Hmm.
Like thematically, I think it would fit with the story, and like it wouldn't have to be like totally like on the nose with it, but for that character, whoever he is, to kind of embody all of the bad things with the entertainment industry, and for Aqua to really fight against that, against his father, maybe it would be like thematically appropriate for this story. Maybe, although again, maybe this is just a really strange and uncalled for thought.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I do think that it is a deconstruction in a way of that industry.
Hmm.
So showing the dark side of it is not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it's already done that, really, right? With
Yeah,
the fans, being so possessive of these people that they barely know.
precisely.
um,
Mm.
yeah. Again, the father, the mystery behind that is really fascinating, and I wondered if at first if it was rape,
Mm.
in some aspect, but it didn't feel that way exactly.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
the way she talked to him on the phone, it didn't.
yeah,
Yeah, I also don't think it was that.
right, and so it's like, what was their relationship? How did it get that way? It'd be interesting to see if they somehow explore that. Although I is dead, so you would have to get it from the opinion of the father. Or though maybe there's some sort of memoir out there that I left about it, but I doubt
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Regardless, I'm also hoping for more insight into her past in some way. And yeah, getting that through the father in some sense would make sense eventually whenever he comes into the picture
Right.
as a character.
Yeah. I mean, specifically, how did he get with her? Like, like
Hmm.
what, what would possess her? Because was she looking to be a mother from the very beginning, or did she just accept what happened?
Yeah, exactly. That is also the question. What did she plan to get pregnant? Maybe we know that she wanted to have a family because she never had one. So maybe she did this all like maybe it was all planned from her end,
Mm,
but it definitely didn't. That doesn't have to be the case. But yeah, like yeah, I don't know. Is he an actor? Is he a producer? Is he like I don't know, like a
right.
camera guy? I have no clue.
I think the most like cliche person would be a producer.
Yeah, for sure.
That seems to be a typical, dominating male
Hmm.
evil guy position.
Yeah.
But like you said, it could be an actor. It could be a cameraman. Although I don't know how. He must be the best cameraman in all of Japan if he has all these connections.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hmm. Any other predictions?
I think that, and I guess I've already touched on this a little bit, but I do think that Aqua and Arima or Kana are gonna have some sort of relationship.
Mm.
I do think that it's heavily implied in that aspect. Now, I'm not saying exactly that it's romantic, um, although there's always that possibility. But I don't really see the story as a romance in any way. Am I incorrect in saying that? It's not labeled as a romance, right?
No, I wouldn't. I, w- I I wouldn't classify it as that, but that said, though, I guess there could be romantic subplots.
Sure, sure, yeah. But it's not like a rom com,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
or
it's not Kaguya-sama Love is War.
right. So thinking about who's gonna be with who is maybe not the most correct thing, but this is also me we're talking about. I tend to gravitate towards that.
Hey, it's all good. Keep the ships coming.
Keep the ships coming. But I do think for sure that there is going to be a close bond between these two.
Gotcha. Awesome. So, I'd like to ask, do you have a favorite character one volume into this series?
I mean, I think it just has to be just for her outlook on love and the deconstruction of the idol industry we get through her experience.
Right.
Aqua is going to be a fun character to watch with his dark side. Ruby, while I really liked her whole dancing moment, like that was very special.
Yeah.
I did get annoyed with her at times, but that's just her character. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say the one that I am most excited to learn more about is Kana.
Awesome.
Like, I'm not gonna lie. So
Sweet.
there you go.
Great. And another question: how would you rate this manga so far, just a volume in, on a scale from 1 to 10?
Probably an 8.
Sweet. Me too. Honestly, because when I read this the first time, obviously I was reading it kind of week by week as the new chapters were coming out. So and we've talked about this on the podcast probably multiple times, that really, at least for the two of us, it's really, we really find it to be so much better to read like several chapters in one go through a volume rather than reading a chapter a week or a chapter a month or whatever the pace is.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I enjoyed these first 10 chapters a lot more on this reread through the volume than I did on my first time reading them. I don't know if I would have given it an 8 out of 10 this far into the story back then, but I think I am now. The story well, for those 40 chapters that I have read, have been at an 8 out of 10 for a while, but yeah, this first volume as a volume is definitely an 8 out of 10 as well for me.
It has a great shock factor, great introduction, and it ends off at a good, I guess, cliffhanger, but starting point for the rest of the series.
Exactly.
So I think it's fair to give it an 8. And based on your, I guess, thoughts when you first read it, it only gets better than if you go from a 7 to an 8, right?
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, that's good to know.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, and we won't have any more babies talking after this, so that improves it a bit.
Thank goodness. Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why it's not a 9 out of 10. Although I will admit, I did get a chuckle from time to time.
Yeah. Honestly, I did enjoy it as well. I probably enjoyed it more on this reread than I did my first time through as well. Maybe I just gotten used to the idea of it. Maybe that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, is there anything else you'd like to say before we end this episode?
I'm excited to see Rie Takahashi's version of Ai Hoshino.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about DA getting murdered on screen, but you know what? Go get it, girl. You win that Academy Award for best. I'm just kidding.
I think there's good potential for a good award in this role.
I wonder how many episodes Volume 1 would be.
Exactly.
Do you think 2 or 3?
I think at least 3.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that'll make the first chapter into the first episode. because it's slightly longer than the others, and I think it would be a great first episode of the anime if they did just the first chapter.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the volume could be either 2 or 3 other episodes. So I'd say in total, this volume I think will be either 3 or 4.
You know what? I agree with that. Yeah, 3 or 4.
So yeah, very excited for that anime to come around.
Do you think we'll be able to watch it at all?
We can start watching it, and then we'll see how far we can watch it.
Yeah. I wonder when Volume 2 is coming out.
May?
Oh, May?
I believe Volume 2 is coming out like a month or so after the anime premieres.
So potentially.
Potentially.
It's gonna be like neck and neck, you know.
It might be for a while. Yeah. So but I'm very much looking forward to that. But with that all said, if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 2. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye! The dark side of the K-On! Fandom, I guess.
It's very dark. Yeah, it's like it surpasses the Attack on Titan fandom.
Wow.